Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and joined as always by MMA legend John Fitch to discuss this week's world of mixed martial arts and so much more. Not a lot of fights, although there was some celebrity boxing this weekend. But coming up, there's some big ones we're going to discuss. Before we get there, I want to remind everybody, John has got his own channel here, and we got to bring him right up. I'm going to put it right in. Go subscribe right now because he's doing really cool podcasts with a lot of different people and short form videos on a lot of great subjects. I watched your toxic monogamy really video this week. Why don't you give people a taste on what that subject was all about?
Well, I mean, one of the things is I try to do a lot of these like cold reads. I don't research the article a ton beforehand. So I usually find out that it's like clickbait anyways. So this is like one of those things. It was actually a solid article. The girl just listed like 7 questions you need to ask yourself if you're in it's basically a toxic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So like, are these things that you apply to your relationship that's probably making it toxic? But like they wrote it off in the title, like monogamy, toxic monogamy. Like that was the problem. It was just, I don't know.
And I also watched your one on the vasectomy, where that was also kind of clickbaity, where this guy.
They saved the most important details till the very end, because they did this whole thing. This sheriff guy had his bone marrow transplant, and then he took on his DNA of the donor, which is a common thing, I guess that happens. But what was uncommon about him is that all of his semen became the donor's DNA.
Yeah, it was.
But they don't tell you the reason that probably happened is because he had a vasectomy, and that's why it probably happened in the first place. But they lead you on where you're thinking like, oh man, this guy's going to have somebody else's baby.
I think the scariest part there is that you could get pinned for some other crime, like that, forensic file style, with that situation. But before we go any further, guys, you can check everything John Fitch out at johnfitch.net. You can just follow him on Twitter at johnfitch.net spelled out. But here's his Facebook, his Instagram, all social media. I saw that you were also doing some one-on-one exclusive training.
Yes, I had a client this weekend. My time is valuable, so I don't often do private lessons. But I did one for this kid. He had a good time. It's a nice little hour-and-a-half workout. Sometimes it's almost too much. If he wasn't a 17-year-old kid, an hour and a half is too much for most people.
I would imagine rolling with you might be
drills
an hour and a half.
For an hour.
I mean, I got punched in the face for like 30 seconds on Friday, and that was enough for me. But we'll get into all that.
Yeah, I know you've been getting in some extra sparring rounds.
Dude, we'll get into it, but I want to remind everybody that thegruelingtruth.com also carries the audio version of this podcast after the fact, along with a lot of other great stuff, real people, actual, not just PR, because I feel like, especially after watching the Super Bowl, did you catch it yesterday?
I did. I mean, it was in the background. I was working on some other stuff. I let the kids have some iPad time while the Super Bowl was on so they could kind of see it a little bit. But it was, I don't know. It's grown tiresome. It just seems so repetitive. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and I'm a boomer now, but like it doesn't feel the same way as when I was a kid. I haven't watched football really, like most of this last decade I didn't really watch. Like the beginning of the decade I was doing some fantasy football, but then I just stopped all doing that altogether, and I haven't been watching sports much at all. Like I'm just starting to get back into watching fights.
And I feel like for me the fights are hard enough to keep up with, because if I want to watch a full card, and often I do, I actually like, especially when I love catching the prelims. I like looking back 5 years later and seeing somebody I saw as a prospect fight for a championship or something like that, John. I think that's part of the thing. But that's going to cost me 6-7 hours of a day. That's a work day.
I love live events.
Oh, they're so fun, dude. In fact, Barclays Center is the Khabib fight. I mean, that's probably.
But I mean, like I'll go to a baseball game. Like that's a fun experience too. I'll take a day and then sit in the sun and eat hot dogs and drink beer. Bullshit with people. That's a good time too. Like I like still going to the live events.
And I agree. And I don't know if it's a boomer, man, but when I was watching, like, especially, all right, so the Super Bowl, obviously hugely commercialized. It's gotten more and more and
Hmm.
more so. But what I've noticed is there's less and less actual advertisers out there. Like, for instance, Disney had a huge portion of the whole thing, especially with the Disney Plus. You look at
Hmm.
ESPN Plus. There were a lot of commercials for the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight, which I actually liked. But the big one that got me was this Tide took so much money, and they incorporated, Charlie Day and his Tide commercial throughout the whole thing, through the Super Bowl where they actually had the.
I didn't even. I watched. I don't even remember that.
Oh my God, dude! They had him
I
in the
think I do remember
commercials.
Charlie Day,
Uh
but I
huh.
don't know what he was selling.
He was
So they
selling
must have done a
Tide. He had a
really
stain
shitty
on his
job.
shirt. It was a stain on his shirt, and it kept going through, and he was going to get older, and they just kept popping it through, and he was going to do his laundry, and he never did during the Super Bowl, and they were leading it into that fucking terrible show that was hard to watch with the singers and the masks. That was tough for me, but they actually led in with like a shoe commercial, like the kid running the football in after like a 3 or 4 minute commercial. That's how it led in, was the kid actually ran through, blurring the lines between commercials, reality, and then the sports, which is.
Like I mean, I've said this before on this show, but that's what's going on. Is advertisers have realized that, and this is from 10 years ago. Like it's still happening. It's still the beginning stages of this. But like advertisers are realizing that people will not sit through a commercial. They will not sit through a video commercial unless there's a live event going on. So that's why you see more of these blending of the lines of commercial and the event itself. And then you're also seeing the interest in mixed martial arts because it's cheaper. It's the cheapest way right now. It's the cheapest way to get live content on air and to put advertising over it.
And they're doing a good job of it. I mean, I would say that. Well, Dana said this is the best year for the UFC. Who can trust Dana? But it doesn't look like ESPN and Disney are hurting at all. And they've just announced McGregor Gaethje. That's supposed to be at 248. We got 247. So they're already lining this up to get another pay-per-view at a Connor. They're talking about Masvidal versus Usman, which makes sense to me. I know they tried to hype it up with that kind of fight that was on the internet or whatever. That's a fight that interests me. I guess we could talk about whether or not we think Jon Jones has a chance of being dethroned this weekend. What are your thoughts?
Probably not, but I don't know enough about Reyes to be honest. I just feel like Jones's reach and his ability to wrestle, unless you're a cardio fighter and you're going to work hard to get inside and make him use his wrestling a lot, I don't think that you have much chance unless you have a puncher's chance.
Well, I'll say this: the guys that he hasn't looked great against are the tall guys, right? He didn't look great against Ovince St. Preux. He couldn't put away Anthony Smith. And arguably, in his last fight with a guy with a torn ACL for 2 rounds, who was a 185er, 2 fights before that, he didn't look spectacular either. Could have easily been a. It didn't go to a split, I don't think. Was it? It wasn't a split decision, but I think that everybody had it pretty much. What was it? By 1 round with who is it? Thiago Santos, right?
Hmm.
So now you got Reyes. He's on a streak. I don't think he beat Ozdemir. In fact, I was listening to the Funky and FRB, aka Front Row Brian podcast over on Rockfin. Guys, you want to support me? We're doing it exclusive. 20 videos a month exclusively over on Rockfin, and you get Ben Askren's content. You get what I'm talking about right now. And they were talking about whether Reyes had a shot and kind of that he was a can. I don't think this kid's a can. He's either 12 and 13 or 0. He's pretty tough. He's looked good in fights. He knocked out Cannonier at 205. But Jon Jones, I don't know, man. What's Jones averaging now? 2 fights a year max?
It's hard to it's hard to tell how good any of these guys are. Honestly, it's just there's no real meritocracy. I've said it before, but you know, you don't really see these guys fight rank guys that you trust the ranks for a long period of time. Like a lot of these guys are shoved up and in the limelight real fast. You don't have a chance to kind of see them develop. And you don't know if their rank is just, arbitrarily given to them because the money was right or whatever.
Well, I mean, again, one of the things they talked about is they were saying, well, I don't see anybody else at 205 against Jones. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you overlook Corey Anderson? Corey Anderson looks like a man possessed. He looks like a man that is out in the forest right now with a Bowie
He doesn't
knife
have
in his...
enough followers. He doesn't have enough Twitter followers or Instagram followers. Like you have to be prepackaged with your notoriety before they'll put you on their card. They won't grant you the opportunity unless they're guaranteed their eyeballs.
Again, if you're just watching cage only, the man looks like he's got a Bowie knife in his teeth and he's about to take out not one but two elk with his bare hands and a knife, bleed them out and throw them over his shoulders for that belt. And you want him to fight arguably another killer again who he's already beat, Jan Blachowicz. And you know that's not a big name sell because together I don't know that they have 50,000 Twitter followers like you said. It's upsetting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really dumb matchup. It's a dumb matchup. Like it's not going to sell that many. It's not going to sell that much. Like people aren't going to watch that much of it because they're not going to promote it. They're not going to promote these guys as the guys who are going to dethrone Jones. They're not going to push that line. They should.
I don't even know it's the main event.
And regardless of what happens, I mean, even if it's he knocks him out, like okay, well he already beat him once.
I agree. Well,
so
when
it doesn't
fight?
Build him up. It doesn't give him any more star power. It doesn't put him in a position where he can argue for the title shot. And then if he loses, like there's no like burning desire from the fans really probably for a third fight.
Well, I mean, again, I didn't even know what it was. It's headlining Fight Night the following week. I'm not even sure what that's on. Let's see what they're putting on. They're probably putting it on 6 different fucking networks for me. I'll get to watch it on ESPN2, ESPN Plus, and my fucking Fight Pass over 3 tiers of card. So the main card is on ESPN Plus. Diego Sanchez fighting on this card, and we'll get to that in a second.
Oh my goodness.
And I like Diego, but come on, man, Diego. I called it.
But it's not his shenanigans. He's just cogging the wheel.
All right, so let's see. The preliminary card, also on ESPN Plus. Do we have an early prelim? No. It looks like everything's on ESPN. Well, good job. Way to get it right in February, guys. Way to do it mid-February. You got it together. If you pay $4.99 a month, you can watch all the fights. So, what am I talking about with Diego Sanchez? Well, as we've been talking about, the things are pro wrestling. There's a reason that they came out and said the USADA rules have changed. They were sick of having to talk about picograms in pools and all sorts of Johnny nonsense. Now it's just in your face. He takes a tainted supplement, they dole it out, and then they just imagine that the suspension began back in October. I mean, do you have any comments for? I mean, that's where we're at, John. That's
no, they just. I mean, that's what they're. It's not real. It's pro wrestling. Their drug testing protocol is no different than WWE. It's just a show. They're trying to keep the government off their back. They're trying to make it look like it's a sport. They're trying to, we're a league. No, you're not. It's just, yeah, it's all shenanigans. It's just dirty pool.
Look, here's the deal. It's like you might, especially if you want a merit system and you want this to be global and you want some kind of mixed martial arts, maybe someone has to come in and become a sanctioning body that's not a promotion that can create a belt and then help co-promote just one organization that holds X amount of events a year. I don't know the solution, man. Because
I mean my solution for that is to split the UFC into 2 businesses. So the UFC becomes a sanctioning body. It controls the title and the rankings.
Okay.
But it doesn't do anything with the contracts. Right? So then Zuffa, right, can split off of the UFC and they can be a promoter. They can be a fight promoter. They can sign people and then everybody, all promotions, have a crack at the UFC title. Then
I love every second of that. I'm sure they don't. But then
they don't, because then they lose control of the money.
Mhm.
They could lose control of the athletes because they're the assets. They're really what's for sale there, right? And they want
I
to control
wonder,
everything.
what are the
And
business
if you
models?
control the title and the contracts, you control everything. They have no rights. They have no leverage. You get to do whatever you want to. The greatest MMA fighter in history has to get on his knees and beg for a title shot because you don't deserve or earn things in this so-called sport, because it's not a sport. You get the opportunity to be a part of the show.
Well, I'm not really able to disagree with you. I mean, let's look at the heavyweight division in the UFC right now, right? Stipe Miocic is arguably the greatest guy ever to do it at heavyweight in years that people progressively became bigger and better mixed martial artists. I mean, he had a split decision loss against Dos Santos when Dos Santos was clearly juiced to the tits and running through cats. You know, that was his one stumble on the way to the championship. With Cormier, I mean, look, Daniel Cormier is a bad motherfucker. You know, probably better than anybody. He has an argument to be made of maybe one of the greatest, if not the greatest, heavyweights of all time as well. But Stipe has to wait, what, 6 months, 12 months, sometimes 18 months for a fight because the UFC doesn't want to pay him or do his thing. And he's smart enough because he's got his firefighter's pension. He's never left his other career, which is incredible in its own right. But at the same time, a guy like me, I'm missing a lot of great fights that Stipe Miocic could be having, and you're really limiting any other heavyweight. I mean, Curtis Blades again. Who are his two losses to? Ngannou. Yeah, that's tough. Like the guy literally, if he hit an elephant the right way, he might put him down.
Might knock him out.
So what do you say to that? You know, you feel bad for Blades because at the end of the day, what's Blades peaking at? I forgot what he got paid for the last fight, but it wasn't that much. He's peaking far under $1 million a fight.
It's the pay-per-view. Like once you get the pay-per-view, they want to limit what you make. Like they'd rather put in somebody else who makes less money, and then they end up profiting more off the top. It's not about putting the best fights together. That's the biggest lie ever. It's about them making the most amount of money without having to pay out much money.
It's maximizing profits, 100%.
Yes, that's all it is. 100% maximizing profits. Put another cog in the wheel. If this guy doesn't play ball, get rid of him, push him out, put somebody else in.
Because I'll keep
That's all
saying
it
it.
is.
The way Bader's looked at heavyweight in Bellator, I think Bader and Stipe Miocic is a fucking killer fight. We'll probably, I mean, if we ever get that, maybe 5-10 years down the line, it'll probably be in some offshoot.
I mean, people bitch and moan like, oh, we don't ever see these fights for between the big titles in boxing. Well, sometimes you do. But like in MMA, you never do. It's not even a possibility. It's not even possible. Like people want to bitch and moan about boxing and that it's corrupt. Well, there's corrupt things that can happen, but there's legal action you can take against them. The baseline structure of MMA is corrupt. Like there's corruption everywhere. Like the promoter controlling title, rank, and exclusive contracts. That's corrupt. It's just corrupt at its base. So every action that comes off of that is also a corrupt or byproduct of corruptness. And nothing's going to change until you fix that problem.
But now we have the president involved in corruption in MMA. I mean, we really do at this point. I don't know if you've seen the headlines, but more and more, my friend, I think that my confirmation that Conor got in through Trump is a real thing. As if you've heard, it's headlines that Donald Trump literally called Dana White after the fight from Air Force One to question how Cowboy could have went down so easily. Well, I'll tell you how. He fucking winks at Conor as they fucking do this, and he took a dive. 99% sure. I know I'm not allowed to say that. I know that I'm Stephen A. Smith level, and I'm not allowed to say anything about fixing an MMA because there's never been a fixed fight in mixed martial arts, ever, especially not in the UFC.
It's called a work.
No, there's never a work. I mean, remember when Vanderlei Silva was accusing the UFC of fixing fights and saying he had proof? And then all of a sudden he got out of his contract. So bizarre. So weird. I mean, I must be a conspiracy theorist, but those are the facts. I mean, you would have to be an idiot to think that there aren't fixed NFL games. Do you know how many fucking suckers thought they were in last night in the fucking Super Bowl when their team was up by 10 and it was a 1.5 point margin the other way? They're like, oh my God, Chiefs by 1.5. People were probably fucking calling their bookies during the fucking third quarter, plunking down even more money. And then what happened? You didn't even get a reach around, did you? Did you? No, you didn't. Kansas City Chiefs win. Vegas wins. Vegas wins.
Vegas wins.
I mean, John, I'm not going to put you on the spot. But in the locker room.
No, yeah, that's one of the big problems is how much of today is just about entertainment and how much is like how much of the sports are real sports? Like how much does the corporation get involved and just try to reap most max profits rather than pure sport being allowed to take place?
So in the locker rooms, I mean, you're at AKA. I mean, you're arguably like the top camp of the past decade plus, right? I mean, producing champion after champion after champion over there. What are, like, in the locker room, has there ever been talks of works? Or have you ever had a fighter in there at some time that said, yeah, I got paid to take a dive, or, you know, I was a part of this?
Not in a UFC setting or one of the bigger organizations here in the States.
Uh-huh.
I think, you know, the feds look into any type of possible, you know, foul play in that sense. So I don't know if I've ever seen it. I've heard of people getting accused of it, but I've seen it in Japan. I've seen it in Japan a few times. It was kind of common. I think Mark Coleman lost to somebody a while ago, and that was a work. I fought in this X1 whatever show, and there were 2 fake fights on that. There's a 16-year-old kid that was like known for kicking baseball bats in half. He fought a guy, and I don't know if they told the kid. I don't know if they told the 16-year-old that it was going to be fake. So I think he actually like kind of hurt the guy. Hit him a couple times after he already went down. And then there was a pro wrestler that did a worked fight with one of our guys too. So it does happen. It has happened, but man, when you have so much scrutiny over it, I think it's hard to get away with. I think they've masterfully figured out how to leverage fights to give the outcome they want.
Well, I think you're right in that
putting
sense.
incentives in the right place.
But I also think that I think we would
you.
be foolish again to think that NBA games, NFL games, and UFC fights have never been fixed, and that they're not fixed in some way, shape, or form today. And again, with the selective enforcement of USADA, like right in your face right now. I mean, it's been in your face for a while if you weren't like half retarded and paying attention. If you were buying the line of
I mean, like, who's testing the NFL guys? you know?
Look at a guy like Dillashaw, man. I'm not saying like EPO is a good thing to take, but is he the only dude that was on EPO? You know, and if he doesn't get knocked out by Cejudo, does that even come out? Those are real questions. Like, if he's still a draw, listen, I remember when Dillashaw, oh man, who did he take the championship from? It's killing me right now. But he was a heavy underdog. Does his last name start with a B? He's still fighting, but he hasn't looked good. I think he might have just got.
Was it Cody?
No. Way before Cody. South American guy. I want to say Brazilian. Who did? All right, we're doing it live. But when he was a 4.5 to 1 underdog
Barbosa
in that
or something.
What's that?
Barbosa?
Yeah, no, it wasn't Edson. Let me see. TJ Dillashaw wins belt. We got the web live here. Wins up. Sins belt. Wins first. Oh, come on, man. This is killing me. We're going Wikipedia. Let's see. Barao, Renan Barao. That's who it was. And I mean, he whooped Barao, dude. I mean, that was an amazing fight, and he looked great. I mean, he beat Barao twice. Soto, the Dominic Cruz fights was a split decision. You could argue that he won those fights. I mean, look, he cleared that division out. A Sun Sao, tough guy. Lineker, tough guy. Garbrandt, twice. And Cejudo, man, I like it. He's talking about going up to 145. Well, how do you feel? I mean, he's trying to make money. 145 ain't that deep. He has progressively improved. He made me a believer after he manhandled Demetrius Johnson and knocked Dillashaw out on the EPO. What do you think?
No, he's talking about going up another weight class.
He says he wants 145's belt. He says he's coming. He says short and stocky, let's go.
He might be able to do it. I mean, I don't know, man.
I mean, you're a wrestling guy. I think his
base
is incredible.
That's the thing. Is like I always put it in the corner. If a wrestler can be competent on his feet, then he's got a huge advantage over people because he can get you freezing and thinking about the wrestling, and then he can let his hands go. So even if it's only just a really strong 1-2, like that's hard to deal with. So I don't know. I think he could probably pack on the weight, and even if he didn't pack on the weight, like
Well, I'll tell you what he's angling
the guy's
for,
that powerful at 145, he wouldn't be able to handle it, and they got to be close enough to hit him. So if they're close enough to hit him, he's close enough to get in on the hips and take him down. So
I'd say this: he's a smart guy. Everybody likes to call him cringe. He puts those Instagram and Twitter videos out. I follow Cejudo, but he, like I said, his hands have improved tremendously. Watching him come from just like an Olympic wrestler into MMA and improve the way he has, I know what he's doing. He's angling for a Conor fight in 18 months. He'd love to be the first triple champ and say, come on back down to 145 and win, lose, or draw. And I think he could win that fight too. I mean, honestly, I don't know if Conor could come in at 170 after a weight cut. I'm sure they'd have him on all sorts of rehydration. I remember when he was cutting down for Aldo, maybe 3-4 weeks out. I remember
I don't think he'll ever make 45 again.
You don't think so, huh?
No, he's packed on too much size.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. We got a super chat. Come on, bro. How many times un-Americans can say they have a Scottish mod? Mod me, bro. I don't mod anybody. I just ban people that are ridiculously violent and anti-Semitic. Like, usually those are the only ways you get banned. You haven't had to ban anybody in a while, have you?
It's been a little while. I got to get my next guest on this show.
Oh, yeah? Who's the next one?
Yeah. I don't know yet. That's the thing. I got to get on it.
Come on, Fitch. You got to get in this, man.
I got to reach out. Well, I didn't want to there's some people that I need to reach out to, but I want to research them a little bit. They were recommended to me.
So let's talk about it, John. Let's talk about my 60-second embarrassing fight and how I can improve so I can become a master of violence like John Fitch. So I don't know if you actually saw the video, but, I wasn't.
Yeah, I clicked through your video. There wasn't really good
horrible
picture
angles.
of what happened.
Horrible angles. I was so disappointed that none of it got caught because, I doubt these people are going to get arrested. I don't think I'm going to lose the tooth, but I certainly haven't been eating solids. Does that happen a lot with you? I mean, you guys have mouthpieces on, but does that ever happen where you get rung and you just don't eat solids for a few weeks so you can keep them?
Well, you can. Are you getting nauseous from it, or is it just your mouth hurts?
No. It's just wiggling. So I can't. If I bite down, I have a little bit of an overbite, right? But if I catch food in between it, I mean that's a hard sting and it'll move. So it's been
Might be bruised. I've bruised a tooth before.
And you kept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that's another cost people don't understand for MMA fighters. That dental is extremely fucking expensive, and each tooth that goes out is like a $2,000 to $5,000 ordeal, right? I can't tell you. We lost you, John. When you come back, tell us. Go ahead. What were you saying? You're back.
No, yeah. I was like, yeah, it's no good losing a tooth. That's why I don't know the hockey players. They don't bother putting them back in, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I know. I remember Koscheck on air once.
Koscheck
took him out when he was doing play-by-play for Fox, and the two front ones were gone. And I mean, Cormier's missing that one. I'm assuming after he's done with MMA, he'll probably replace it.
Henderson's got one missing, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, that's some real shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm standing there. I'm next
George
to
Washington had wooden dentures.
Oh, dude, I don't want to even think of. I hate getting old. I mean, I can't even imagine that. And again, it's so damn fucking expensive. And I just see myself getting like all this dental work being done, and then an idiot like this punching me in the face that I have no idea who he is. And shit goes down. So I know you always talk about being aware of your surroundings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm behind the counter. I'm blocked off on the side. I'm not expecting to get hit or spit on or anything like that. Turns out that this guy is one of the crack dealers that used to live above me from years ago when I moved out of my apartment abruptly.
Classy guy. Classy guy.
I didn't recognize him. I don't even know. Maybe he was a crack dealer friend. He moved in there after me. I have no idea what the situation is. We're talking about, I haven't lived there in 3.5, 4 years. So again, no idea. Generally, I would assume people don't spit on you, John. However, have you ever been spit on by another guy and you not just totally killed them? No, exactly.
That's never happened.
No, never happened. So yeah, I am totally. First of all, I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you are, and then it's you're one of the fucking crack dealers, and then I get spit on, and I immediately grab him and start punching him in the face. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, am I an idiot? I feel threatened if two guys are approaching me. One guy starts cursing me out, and then
assault
spits on me.
with bodily fluid. I think that's.
I feel like that's assault. It's a felony. So anyway,
I think it's battery qualifies as that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I grab him and start punching him in the face. The other guy, I guess to his credit, didn't hit me. But there was a third guy who I was completely unaware of because I didn't even see these guys come in together in a large crowd that ran over. And he tagged me over here on the ear. I got caught, obviously, in the face or the tooth. Caught me in the eye or whatever. But I actually let the guy had dreads, dude, and was not a strong guy. Like that's another thing. Guys, be aware of your fucking hair and your clothes when you're in fights. Those are the first thing people grab onto, whether you realize it or not. So, I mean, that's the first thing I grabbed the fucking guy by was his fucking hair and jacked him. So I had the guy by the hair, and I'm fucking jacking him, and my buddies are asking me to let him go. They've called the police, right? All of this has gone down in 60 seconds. It's a small town. I could see the cop car outside. So I let him go. You can see them throw their jackets up. They all got away. Every one of them. Every fucking one of them. Cops didn't catch one of them. They didn't get out of their car on time. And then when they turned around, they were gone.
They don't want to catch them.
No. So like,
they're like, damn it, they're still there. Hold on. Stay in the car a little bit longer. It's above my pay grade. We don't stop crimes. We just arrest people after the fact.
And dude, it's like I live in a small town, but now New York has gotten so out of control that you can literally brutally mug an old woman on camera and you are out that night or the next day. Here, let's just turn the volume off and show this one to the... I mean, this is a woman on look how small she is. Look at how tiny this woman is. And look how big that guy is. And he comes up behind her and puts her on the ground and takes her purse. And that's a guy you want on the street? That guy? Oh, well, he was real gentle with her, Jason. He didn't throw an uppercut. I mean, what the fuck, man? This is my state. Crazy. It's really disturbing. And
he got let out that night.
That night or the next day? Issue. Here, hold on. Let's read it. The victim so petite. Let's see. The cops were fuming after the release. Yeah. White was arrested shortly after the cold-hearted attack and charged with robbery, but released without bail as soon as they charged him. Right there. Boom. So, yes. This is it, man. I mean, dude, that guy, let's say they got the guy that punched me in the face. Now, I get spit on. I get punched on.
Man.
They're out that night. They're out that night in a town with like a 2-mile square radius where obviously they know who I am, I need to leave New York. It looks like it's Pennsylvania for me. I mean, I know you're a West Coast guy, John, but like, do you have any Do you have any love for the East Coast anywhere there? I know you didn't love Syracuse.
Well, no, I mean, I was just in Raleigh, and Raleigh was awesome.
North
I think
Carolina?
Raleigh, North Carolina was amazing.
Oh, that's
I've been
right,
there a
with
few
the
times. I like
sponsors.
it a lot. Kentucky, or not Kentucky, I'm sorry, but Tennessee, Nashville is a nice town, nice city.
Tennessee is
A lot of
nice.
nice,
I've been to
lot of
Nashville.
nice ladies down there.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I did Bonnaroo there one year, and I liked that. I actually saw Tool there. I really did
Mm,
like Nashville. But I feel like, I don't know, I want something like Kansas City doesn't sound bad. Missouri. Like, apparently they have football champions. Maybe I can get a
yeah,
log cabin 30 miles out.
maybe.
Still have some great internet. I mean, what I do is
Mm,
all internet based anyway, right? Why
yeah,
do I
you're
need to
you're
live?
location independent. If
Yeah,
you'll
I am.
travel, spend some time on the road. Just go to Thailand and China
Well, do you want
and
to go to
other
China right
places.
now? We haven't talked coronavirus. Let's talk some coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Um, did you see that
I
Twitter's?
got. I'm uploading a video now for China's social whatever credit score
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's disturbing. That's really
I've
disturbing.
been talking about that for a year and a half. Listen, and just so our audience knows what that is a social credit score based on your job, your education, whether you have tickets. Things happen in real time depending on how
Hmm.
implemented it is, which is really
If you're
dependent on your
if you're
location.
jaywalking
Yes,
or
you can
something.
jaywalk in real time, be shamed in real time, and have money come automatically out of your account. Now, what's even more disturbing is if you speak out against the state, all of a sudden you may not be able to travel via train or plane. Your
Mm-mm.
kids may not be able to go to certain schools, and they want this for all 1.1 billion people by the latest in 2022. Okay?
They'll also call you if you get a call from somebody that's on like the list, they'll notify you beforehand. Like just so you know, you're getting a call from so and so who's been blacklisted, like to discourage you from contact being in contact with that person ever again.
Well, the
That's
military and
crazy.
police were going door to door today and warning people that had spread misinformation from within China about the Wuhan flu. That if they had to come back a second time, they'd start arresting people. And the other big information about that is that now Google and the WHO, the World Health Organization, are going to combat the false conspiracy theories that are out there about the coronavirus. So let's talk about just some of
Mm,
the things that are out there about the quote unquote coronavirus. First of all, calling it just the coronavirus would be 1000% incorrect. They're referring to this as the novel coronavirus. They are denying that the patent from 2018, which is a vaccine for many different types of coronavirus, including canine coronavirus and others, and the type of coronavirus you'll see listed on the back of your Lysol, by the way. Like, that's how long this has been around. Um, they're saying that this is a different and mutated type, none of which has to do with the patent, none of which has to do with that. Now, there are two different reports that are supposedly being combated by Google and the WHO as conspiracy theories as to its origin. Number one, they're talking about the biomedical lab in Wuhan that would have handled agents like this. I know Zero Hedge reported on that. And then there was also the reports that there were distinctions that said that this may have been mutated with a type of HIV virus. And I believe that was like the Times of India who first reported that. Zero Hedge also did a sub story. Now, apparently, it's the HIV story that got them suspended from Twitter. But now,
mm.
with Google and the WHO combating misinformation, how the fuck do you trust Google, who literally made a deal with China to make a censored search engine called Dragonfly and helped when they said, you know what? We didn't like the fact that South Park made fun of our censorship program
Yeah.
and exposed Disney, the NBA, the NFL for doing business with us. We won't just ban that episode. We'll get rid of all 20 plus years of South Park. We should trust them, right, John? You love China, don't you?
Well, that's one of the things that I covered in my video is they will fine a corporation, like they find was it United Airlines or some airlines because they misrepresented Taiwan as its own country or something like that, and it's just yeah, they've forced companies to pay a lot of money because they mislabeled something, or they brought shame to China by calling one of their states or whatever, one of their controlled territories, its own country.
Well, the other thing about China is when I say that the West empowered them, I don't really mean obviously everybody within the United States, but they were certainly empowered by Kissinger, by Richard Nixon as part of that globalization effort. Henry Kissinger, especially. Zbigniew Brzezinski would be another guy. And what I always warn people about, even back when I was at InfoWars, I said, look, you could see it in the 80s. They started to get blue jeans. They started to get Coca-Cola. All of a sudden, McDonald's was there, and the facade of communism went away. But at the same time, these guys never really got a constitution or a republic or any true democracy. And what happened here? Well, we actually started getting a lot of their authoritarianism. They get our consumerism, and you get to beta test different types of authoritarianism there, and don't think the social credit score isn't going to be attempted here. They already have your regular credit score, and Apple already has a social credit score for you, which obviously is not government integrated yet, but is being beta tested. It's already in there. So if you're one of those iLife people, and you have been since you're a teenager, you don't even want to know what fucking Apple and company have on you. Not that Google's any better. Believe me, they have similar systems. In fact, all their information, I believe it. What was it? Facebook, Amazon's Ring, and another one. They all got caught. I think it's NOS. They all got caught basically sharing all of that information, the metadata they had, with Israeli surveillance, like a super hyper, Israeli intelligence company. Shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, they're selling this to everybody and anybody, and all of your stuff is being tracked, traced, and databased. Go 2020. Speaking about 2020, Iowa caucus today, John. Who you got? Who you got?
It's today?
It's today. Hold on, let's go
God.
live. Let's see where we're at in the votes or whatever. I don't think any of the jurisdictions have closed yet, but we got it. We're live with NBC News. We're going to beat them again. Iowa caucus is live. Obviously, too early to tell. Is Joey B going to be the front runner? Will Bernie run away with it? Will any of it matter?
I don't think it really matters. It'll be interesting to see what the turnout is like. If that's any kind of indicator about, buzz. Are people excited about voting? Are they determined to get out there and vote? So I think we could learn a little bit by turnout.
Yeah, well, it looks if we're going live, it looks like Bernie Sanders is surging. We are surging with Sanders. And listen.
There was a video of Joe Biden being led around. He looked like he was having a spell.
Did you see what he said? You see what he put out there? That he wants Michelle Obama to be his running mate? That's like the last ditch effort to try to get elected.
Last ditch effort. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's how they're going to try to put. You got to remember. Think about it this way. The Iowa caucus, as important as it is, right? It's often overlooked. Howard Dean, back in the day,
I love that. I love that. He made me a fan.
He was killing it.
I want a little passion in my leadership.
But the media.
It was great.
But the media spun it that he was unhinged, and then they sold you John Kerry. And they've never really wanted to sell you Bernie. Now, they've been trying to sell you Grandma fucking Oatmeal and Joey B. No one's voting Grandma Oatmeal or Joey B. Okay? I think if there's honesty here, I think that Tulsi Gabbard could get 10, 15%. The problem is that a lot of people that probably would vote Gabbard are pro-Bernie because they've seen him do it before. You know what I mean? They've seen him at least climb the mountain. I'm still not convinced that Hillary Clinton isn't getting ready to knock at some doorsteps.
And there's just such a smear. There's such a smear campaign around Tulsi. Unless you really know Tulsi and are putting a lot of energy into learning about what she's doing, unless you're on her email list, I don't think you're going to be that supportive.
Well, people still
You're going to
think
run
that
with Bernie
fucking
and the freak
Russia
stuff.
controls our elections, John. I mean, there are literally people that were calling, let's talk about this, that were calling for Rand Paul to be arrested for writing on a sheet of fucking paper, John, and asking Judge Roberts to see if they could call the witness, Erica Caramello Bar, because I can't say the name, because if I say the fucking name on this platform, this video gets locked to private and no one ever gets to see it again. The one video out of now 950 plus, John, is still that video that has never, I've got no explanation other than supposedly I had bad tags, right? You know about this, right? That Rand Paul stormed out? So on Friday, it was. He wanted to ask two questions. Basically, if they could call witnesses, and the one witness in particular who's the supposed whistleblower, right? And Judge Roberts said he refused to read the question as it was written. Rand Paul stormed out and tweeted the guy's fucking name. And Twitter literally had a hashtag arrest Ron Paul, and there were so many people talking about him being Putin's asset and a Russian I couldn't believe it. There are people that really believe the Russian narrative, dude. Like, how does that,
the idea that we have to keep this guy's name secret, like how is that a thing? How are people this dumb? How can they be duped so easily? Oh, we can't say his name. Like they don't want you to say his name because they don't want anybody to do any research on the guy. They don't want you to find out what kind of person he is. They don't want to find out what his history is or what kind of motives he would have behind lying. So like they keep it a secret. Let's just keep it a secret because if he's in danger. Bullshit. Bullshit.
What if we ever cared about I mean, we couldn't protect Jeffrey Epstein. Talk about danger, Will Robinson. The guy, they're trying to fucking kill me. They're trying to kill. Suicide watch. Put him on suicide. Yeah, we care about fucking protecting anybody. It's absolutely ludicrous. And again, even with the Bolton hoorah, it looks like this ends Wednesday. Finally, it's over. Is there a new normal in 2020? Where are we going from here, man? Like, I feel like there's no one in the Democratic Party that could actually win. No one's talking about real issues. No one's holding Trump's feet to the fire on shit that actually matters.
No, I think you're going to see the last breath of the loons, I think, in this next election cycle. And I think Trump's probably going to win again with all of the problems. He's still whatever.
Do they investigate
the economy?
again?
The economy's doing pretty
again?
good. There's plenty of good stuff for him to coast into the next, term. And then I think the Democratic Party is going to have to figure itself out. It's either going to implode or split in half. Something's going to happen, and they're going to have to reform.
I don't
themselves.
think we're getting
I think
party.
the Republicans did that too. I think the Republicans went through that with the Obama administration. They kind of like splintered, fought with each other, and then there was a new right was developed around 2015, 2016, and it's still kind of finding itself because it's a lot more socially acceptable with people's behavior. I think if you want to be,
this is how I look at it.
If you want to be gay, be gay. If you want to dress like a woman, fine. Just don't do it around children. If you want to be trans, okay, fine.
Oh, with the Republicans, the log cabin Republicans have been a thing forever. Like that was inevitable. I mean, let's be honest about that. I see more of a change within the Republican Party, aka allowing somebody like Trump to be elected with Rand Paul becoming a senator in that Obama era, and then other people kind of following that Rand Paul suit, like Mike Lee. Like, I like Mike Lee. I think he's pretty good. There's not a lot of guys out there that I'll say are pretty good on some issues. Him and Rand Paul, they're non-interventionists. They called Trump out with that fucking bullshit presentation on Soleimani. They're not afraid to go across party lines. That's why I like Tulsi Gabbard. Okay? I literally just named 2 senators and a congressman. That's nothing. We get 100 senators in this country and hundreds of congressmen, most of which none of us can name, but seem to be lockstep in this idea of impeachment with the impeachment inquiry. I mean, how many Democratic congressmen or women came out and said, hey, this is a fucking sham? The only one that even came close was
Exactly. I
Gabbard.
mean, no backbones. They're all just following. Like that's disturbing. Like, you don't have anybody who can stand up and just be like, I'm not going to be a part of this. This is a waste of our time and resources.
No. Oh, well, since this is Mixed Martial Mindset and we're almost up on the hour, I do want to bring up that some people are complaining that DAZN had its little circus show fight this weekend, which was another one of the YouTube boxing events. This time it was the other Paul brother. It was Jake Paul, not Logan Paul. And I'll be honest, there was nothing else on. I think it was Thursday night. It wasn't even Friday night. It was some kind of a countdown. There was nothing else on. It drew people. I don't see what the problem is. My biggest thing is, if DAZN's going to charge $100 a year or try to charge people $20 a month, they better have content that people want to watch. And it's not like anybody is taking this as a serious fight. And quite honestly, a lot of serious fights don't get the attention they deserve.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, at the same time, I think promoters suck. I think partly because in boxing and MMA, because they're old school. And I think there's a huge difference between people who were born and raised in the social media age versus a boomer like me or someone older. There's a disconnect. Like, I have somebody who's helping me with my online stuff and whatever social media marketing stuff. And like, it takes her 2 seconds to do something it would take me all day to figure out. And it's just because I just don't have that everyday hands-on use. I didn't use a computer until I was in college. And then part of my fight career, I never needed to use a computer. Like, I would just play video games and I fought. So like, a lot of that understanding just isn't there. And then the way that the people share things with each other these days has changed. So I think there's a lot of the old school promoting mentality isn't caught up to where things are now. And as long as that happens, these guys who are younger and already have it figured out, the Paul brothers, they already got this shit figured out. So like, it's easy for them to put together a big event like this. These guys could probably do anything and sell 1 million pay-per-views. You know what I mean?
That's incredible too.
Do a one-on-one basketball game or something like that. And people would probably tune in.
I'd say this. Askren was saying this on his podcast, and I agree with him. You don't necessarily have to be good at fighting for people to want to watch it. You know what I'm saying? It kind of just translates, and the stakes always seem so much higher. Either you got a hero or there's a heel in real life, and sometimes, how many people would fucking pay big bucks to see Alex Jones in any kind of a celebrity boxing or fighting match just because they want to see him knocked out?
I'd like to see him arm wrestle. But we'll go back to back in the 80s, they used to have the Circus of the Stars.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, stuff like that. Like, these people, you already have somebody who has notoriety, and you want to see them do something else. You want to see them compete. Like, people are going to watch. I remember 90s MTV Rock and Jocks softball or whatever.
My favorite.
Like, you tuned in to watch. You see somebody doing something. They did something funny. They fell on their face. They suck at running, whatever. Like, people will tune in. If it's all about the sell. How are you selling it?
I couldn't agree more, guys. It's Mixed Martial Mindset. JohnFitch.net is the website. He's doing personal one-on-one trainings. He's also giving seminars across the country. Always check in. He's got his own
across the world.
What? The world.
Across the world.
Are you going?
I've taught in Japan and Thailand.
Yeah.
Before.
Well, are you going to go teach there?
If somebody has me come out, I'll go back.
You hear that, Thailand? Let's get some Fitch action over there. His YouTube channel is Official Jon Fitch. We're going to put that in the live chat right now. Make sure that you are subscribed to that. You don't know what the next interview is going to be, John? Who are you fishing for? Who's next?
Jelly from Mythbusters. He was supposed to come in the studio, so I'm waiting on contact back from him. I got to reach out again.
You broke up. Which Mythbuster is it?
The Mythbusters I was on Tori Bocelli.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy that when I was on, I sparred him.
Okay. I
So,
didn't even know you were on MythBusters, my friend. That was not a big
yep,
show.
the 1-inch punch, the coffin punch.
Oh, really? So you were
Yeah, it's
like you were testing
2008
the Bruce
episode.
Lee punch?
They just had me. They worked a rig out where I could hit a bag on my back, laying on my back, and then they figured out for my punching power, like to build a machine that could hit that hard. And they determined that you could in fact punch through the wood with the 1-inch punch, but you would probably be crushed and suffocate under the dirt, the 6 feet of dirt.
Oh, they're talking about to break the coffin. The one like
yes, from Kill Bill,
the Kill Bill movie. Yes,
Kill Bill.
the Kill Bill. Oh, dude. Oh, that's great. I gotta
punch.
check that out. Yeah. Oh. I bet you could break out of a coffin, John. Absolutely. I have faith. Guys, if you want to check me out, I'm doing it on Rockfin 5 times a week. $9.99 a month gets my content, Askren's content, Sonen's content, Graham Elwood, Ron Placone, Nico House, The Convo Couch, and a lot more. And we streamed some of the show trial today over at Impeachment. Thumbs this video up, subscribe. We do it 3 to 7 times a day here. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my documentary films, Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. And I've got to GoFundMe. John, thank you as always. We'll see you on the flip.
Yo, check you later.